Albert Einstein once said, "Adversity introduces a man to himself." This is the Producers Lounge podcast, the best podcast online for tips and tricks on producing great film, television, and web content. Welcome back for Season 2, Episode 9, hosted and produced by GreaterandGrander.com. On this week's episode, we're chatting with Jeremy Daniel Davis, who has produced the independent feature film Willy's Wonderland, starring Nicolas Cage. We discuss working with big celebrities, networking in Hollywood, and what happens when a film financier lies to you and goes bankrupt. Jeremy Daniel Davis is an actor, writer, and producer who was born in Phoenix, Arizona. Here now is my conversation with Jeremy Daniel Davis. So you bought into the Mac cult, huh? Yeah.
I did, man. I have an iPhone, so I just was like, here we go, let me fix this later. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the dark side, and here we go. get my Mac. It's the M1 chip I was hearing so much about. So it was like, all right, let's give it a shot. I actually love it. It's a great computer. Are you a Mac person yourself?
I'm a Mac person. I've been a Mac person since I think 2007, and it was funny because since what happened was I was on a shoot for Lifetime, and I was the only person in the office who didn't have a Mac, and and everyone was constantly making fun of me for it. And in fact, one guy on the shoot, he even took a picture of all of our desks lined up, because you know how production office spaces are.
Sure.
Yeah, and I had not only did I have a PC, I had this thing called an Acer, and I don't know.
Those.
Yeah, they were fucking awful, and and it was just like everyone else will use Mac, and I'm happy, and then for some reason I have this miserable expression on my face, and it looks like an ad for MacBooks.
Oh no. See how great our computers are. See how miserable this guy is without a Mac.
Yeah,
I love it, man. Oh, it's so good. Acer, I never had an Acer, but I knew people that used them, and I had like an Asus for a while. ASUS. I don't even know if you've heard of them.
I actually, funny enough, I have a tablet with them because I got it like for like $50, but yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's actually a good computer. I actually, really enjoyed using it for a while, but compared to the Mac, it's not even a question which is better. I mean, it's just, yeah. So I just noticed your shirt too. Is that SC shirt?
Yeah, this is SC.
Look at you, man.
Yeah.
Look at you. I like it.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm in Atlanta right now, and it's after 3 o'clock. So I figured I'd bring in have a drink with you. Have a little orange juice. I saw that.
Nice.
There's something else in here too. So yeah, cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Yeah, buddy. I noticed you guys do like martinis and cigars. So I was like, oh man, I love martinis and I love cigars. So it's too bad, we can't do that, but we can have a drink together. So yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, that's kind of the overall vibe, just talking about war stories. And I remember I was shooting in Portland and they came and they shut us down and I had to run around buck naked in order to make the shoot, in order to distract him, something ridiculous like that.
I'm sure that happens a lot in Portland.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea. I've actually never been. I have a good friend who's from Portland and he loves it. And I asked him if he ever went, hunting for Bigfoot. And then he was like, no, I haven't, but maybe I should, Not that I believe in Bigfoot, but it might be fun to go look for Bigfoot. I don't know.
That would be fun.
Hey, never.
Yeah. So did you grow up in Atlanta or?
No, this is where we shot Willy's Wonderland. And I'm from Phoenix, Arizona originally. Grew up in the hot country, and then moved to LA in 2003 and lived there up until January of 2020 when my wife and we got rid of our place out there and said, let's go shoot the movie in Atlanta. And then when we come back to LA, we wanted to move anyways. And then COVID hit literally as we were wrapping. I'll never forget that last night of shooting, one of my producing partners, Grant Kramer, actually came up to me and he goes, "We're going to have a pandemic, buddy." And I said, "What?" And I looked at his phone and I was like, we knew about coronavirus, which nobody called it COVID-19 yet.
Mhm.
But anyway, so we never made it back to LA. We have not been back since. We were in Michigan. We were actually in Arizona, and then came back down here to, we're actually in Peachtree City, so, which is just south of like downtown. But we're like, we really liked Atlanta. Why don't we go back there, hang out for a little bit? I was trying to get a project going down here as well, so which we may still shoot here. And yeah, it just made sense for the time being. So
That's awesome.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Atlanta, and it's a beautiful city. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
It really is. When we were filming, we were staying in Midtown area, and it's like super hip. There's a lot of young like college students running around and stuff, but great restaurants. And we would have meetings like almost every morning in pre-production at this juice bar in Midtown that we fell in love with. And I was like, not really a huge juice guy. I don't have anything against it. And we would it was just usually Kevin, who was the director at Willy's, Kevin Lewis, and Grant, and we would just hang out and drink our juice and just like really try to think about, all right, what are we gonna do today? And yeah, it was cool. So where are you from?
I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut, which is the only claim to fame it really has is that it is the headquarters of WWF or WWE now.
I was thinking The Office, Stamford, where Jim goes to work.
Oh yeah,
he transfers to Stamford, but I didn't know that. WWE. Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. Wow.
And that was crazy. Like growing up in high school, like you drive by their offices anytime you went down to the beach, and the WWE, like that was around that time where wrestlers kind of kept having accidents and passing away, and it was so weird to drive by and see the WWE flag at half mast. Like it was just, yeah, it was spooky.
Creepy.
Yeah,
that really is. Well, that's so cool that they would do that and honor them in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I grew up I love that stuff back when it was WWF and of course WCW and WWE and the whole thing. And it was too much fun. But yeah, Connecticut, I got to get up there, man. I got to get up there.
Yeah, it's a great place to visit.
I bet. Yeah. So when did you move out to LA? You're in LA now, right?
I'm in LA now, and basically I decided actually that this was around end of high school, and I always wanted to be involved in entertainment in some way. And so I was like, I want to be an actor or this or that or the other thing. And then at a certain point I said, I want to be a film producer. And my dad was like, okay, look, your junior year of college, you're going to be applying to like school soon. Why don't we see if you actually have some interest in this? And all of my friends at the time were going to New York Film Academy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so I did some research, and I was thinking about New York Film Academy, but then I found out USC did this summer program where you could take part if you were 17, in addition to like college age students, and you could actually get college credit for it. And I came out here for the summer of 2000. And I fell in love with LA. It was just absolutely amazing. And it was that moment that I decided I wanted to be a producer. So
no way. And you were 17.
17, yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. And you've done, are you mostly TV or do you like to do film? What's
I've done mostly film, independent films, and I've done a few reality TV shows. I like to joke with friends, like, people kind of look back at reality TV like they look back at cocaine in the 70s. Like, everybody was doing it and it seemed like a good idea at the time, but
made sense, that week. Yeah.
Yeah. But what about you? What was it like growing up in Phoenix?
Oh, it was great. It's a great place to raise a family. Summers are very hot. It is true that a dry heat still sucks. It doesn't have to be humid. And yeah, it was great. There's actually a decent art community out there. Nice. It was in high school. I had an amazing, a lot of your experience I was a drama nerd, drama geek. And a lot of it is who runs the department, has a lot to do with like, your experience. I had the best drama coach, Jody Reppert, man. He ran the whole department. and he made it special. He'd come from, you know, really heavy theater background and worked in theater himself for a while, and was just taught us an amazing amount and just inspired. So I was an actor for years, and I actually got into like producing later, much later. So
When
like
did you
being 17, that's crazy.
well, when did you decide like when did you catch the acting bug when you were in Phoenix? Was it a particular
Funny
moment?
story. I was 3 years old, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I was very young. And my mother actually knew Peter Billingsley's mom.
Oh, wow.
Peter Billingsley was, if you saw A Christmas Story, he was the main kid. He was Ralphie. And yeah, you'll shoot your eye out. That kid's mom actually knew my mother, and he was with an agent. I never met Peter. He was quite a bit older than me at the time. But my mom said, you know, he really gets interested in commercials, and he talks about he wants to be in commercials. And she said, well, I'll introduce, you know, him and you to my son's agent. He just did a really cool Christmas movie. And
Nice.
it was Peter Billingsley. Yeah. So I got his agent, Bobby Ball Agency, when I was little. And then I was 5, I lost interest, and I was just kind of, but you know, and then I started doing plays when I was 9. I think I needed to be a kid for a few years and do plays, and then just never really stopped from then on. Just fell in love with it. So it was everything. Yeah, acting was everything. I still love it, you know. It's but being a producer now and being kind of like, you know how it is. It's great to have, you know, kind of, I don't want to use the word control in a negative way, but to really be impactful in every phase of the production and being able to work with great people that, you know, hopefully you elevate each other. And I found it to be so incredible. I had no idea what I was going to feel with producing a movie and how I'd feel about the finished product. And I think I felt more excited about it than anything I ever acted in. You know, it was like, this is great. I mean, we get to just create a product as a team, and I just love it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that I agree with you 100%. Like, getting into producing, the thing that really attracted me was you can have a great director and you can have a great actor and great script, but unless you have a producer to bring them all together, it's you might wind up with something bad. And I used to cap off that analogy when I talk to people. You might wind up with Howard the Duck. And then I was telling that story to someone who actually worked on Howard the Duck. So it was not.
No. Oh no. Do you remember? Obviously you're not going to mention names, but what did they do on Howard the Duck? What job did they have?
They were part of the production team. I think they might have been like a coordinator or something, but yeah, it was funny because I was in her offices at Universal when I was talking to her about it. So
interesting. All right. And she's like, isn't that weird when the industry suddenly just feels like so tiny, and you're like, wow, you just never know who you're talking to at any time. You know?
Yeah, and people would tell me that all the time, like, you know, in film school, like, Hollywood is a small town, and they'd say that over and over again, and I didn't know what that meant, and then I realized, oh, everybody knows everybody's shit. So
it's the truth, man. It is the weirdest thing, and the longer you're there, the more it happens, right? I mean, you've been there for quite a few years, I'm guessing now. So
yeah,
that's awesome, man. It's special. It's a special business, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let me ask, when you were in LA, like, you were here like 2003 to 2020. So what were like some of your, like, because I think you have an additional having some distance now being in Atlanta, you can feel comfortable telling me these stories. But, you know, I was astonished when I was getting out there after film school. I was trying to network. There are so many producers out there who are just who say they're producers, but they are just bullshitting through their fucking teeth. I was curious, like, what was some of the most interesting stories maybe you have from that period, interesting producers?
Yeah, where to begin, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, Good Lord. That is a great question. I would say I'll go with my clearest memory on it. I mean, we had some, I won't mention any companies here, but we had just even Willy's Wonderland, right? We had some companies that claimed that they had the funding, and we had original funding that actually fell through. So we had to kind of scramble at one point, and we were told, yep, we have it. We have the funding. Let's get going. And we were in a very unique situation where we had a creature company that needed a certain amount of time to actually build the creatures in order to get them out here to Atlanta. And it caused a lot of problems when we were being lied to. This particular entity did not have any funding. They did not have any financing. And we found out from other people, we got phone calls about it. I was the rights holder of the film up until the very end. I signed it over to Landmark Studio Group, but I was the rights holder. And we got a phone call from one of these particular entities going, hey, I just got a call from so-and-so and they need money from us. And we were like, they said they had, so stuff like that happens all the time. Wow. Everybody just going around saying like, yeah, sure, no problem. And it's like, oh geez, who do I call, man? Hey, you guys, and we were just floored. And it was, it's just like so many projects I'm sure you've had where you get so close, you're one step away from getting the production greenlit. And I had so many of those. So I had been so close so many times. And I was like, wait a minute, this smells familiar. This is like, I've been down this road before. And we had another film with a very big movie star and another company that wanted to, I'll just say it was Christian Bale. It was a Christian Bale movie. Oh, and nice. Yeah, it would have been my first film at that time. And yeah, things got interesting with the funding side of it. And interesting to the point that was this company was actually kind of going out of business. And they didn't tell anybody. They were a finance company, and we had basically put all of our eggs in this one basket with them, only to have things kind of fall apart. And then Christian ended up getting hurt on a film shoot. I don't remember which film it was, so we had to push anyways. But had we had the financing and it was real at that time, I think the movie would have gone. And so when these people go out there and say, I have something that I really don't have, I'm not sure they're always aware or even care about the domino effect that can create. It's like a lot of people are relying on that. But yeah, I definitely wish I could throw out some names out there, but I won't bury anybody on this. And
got it.
it's just, they know who they are. And man, that was frustrating. But also too, what that does, and this is what I was telling a young filmmaker a while ago, is I said, as a producer, as a filmmaker, director, anybody, you're going to have these hurdles. And if you can figure out how to gracefully jump these hurdles, the only way you're going to actually figure that out is to have adversity hit you. And you can either lie down and die or get stronger from it. And I'm sure you've been through a million things. And yeah, we love, I can tell, man, you love movies. I mean, if you're 17 and you're going to a summer program trying to be a producer, and then, I mean, you must love it as well. And you just keep going, right? That's kind of the whole thing, is you just figure it out. So we figured it out, and we found an entity right away and funded it, and it all worked out, even though I didn't sleep. But
so let's talk about the story of Willy's Wonderland then. Like, when did you first get involved with that project?
2016. It was an Indiegogo campaign. So my wife, Jessica Graves Davis, she played Siren Sarah. I don't know if you saw the movie, but she's the demonic angel in it, or she's a very interesting animatronic, and she's a very deadly entity in the movie. So she ended up, now at the time she was not obviously cast. I mean, this is going way back, but she got an email from the writer Geo Parsons, and it was a group email, and he said, hey, to all my acting friends, I'm looking for a little bit of money for my Indiegogo campaign. I want to shoot this movie called Wally's Wonderland. And he wanted like 18 grand. I ended up seeing it. She showed it to me and I got really interested. I said, wait, this is a guy who beats up animatronics like at a Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese. I was like, wait a minute. If this movie has never been made, this has to get made. So I had her ask a couple questions and I ended up getting the script. I read it that day and I remember going, I think I can make this. And so we set up a meeting. Jessica actually set up the meeting. We met at this little coffee shop. I asked a bunch of questions. He didn't have a producer. He didn't have a director. He didn't have anybody. So I said, okay, perfect. So we shook on it. It was a handshake deal. And I said, let me go see if I can get your movie made. I think he did end up shooting the short at some point through Indiegogo. And he had obligations that he needed to, basically fulfill on that. So he went out and did that while I was working on the feature. And I brought on Kevin Lewis to direct. I met him on a film called Malibu Spring Break back in 2003. He cast me my first movie. Oh, wow. And yeah, how weird is that? I was a reader. I'd been in town like a couple months and the casting director said, hey, I know you want some experience like in the room, with pros. And I was like, yeah, Malibu Spring Break sounds great. Sounds like a professional, anyways, Kevin wrote it and he's like, oh, geez, Malibu Spring Break was kind of a hilarious situation, that movie. But he shot the movie in 9 days and he said, hey, you did such a great job. Would you like to be in the movie? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. And we're going to pay you. And I was like, even better. This is great. So we're getting ready to kind of wrap for the day. And Kevin stopped everybody and he said, stop. He said, this guy right here, I promise this guy is seen in the movie. We're doing it. And I was like, wow. And I was this nobody actor, 23-year-old kid, right. And we shot the scene and I just never forgot it. And Kevin and I kept in touch for years. We tried to do things together. So when I called him, I said, dude, you got to read the script. And he read it and he was like, I have to do this movie. So we started developing it. And then I had one of my finance guys come in and back offers. And we did everything, traditional. We brought on Nick through an offer. We put an offer in. I'd never met Mike Nylon, who was his manager. Right. We put the offer in and got a call from Mike a couple weeks later. And he said, I read the script. I really like it. And I'm going to give it to Nick.
So yeah, quick backup, because I always think the timeline is important to discuss because you hear a lot of these stories and you're like, I read the script and 2 weeks later we got Nicolas Cage involved. So from reading the script to making the offer, or rather to reading the script to getting the finance guy involved to getting the offer to Nick Cage, what was the timeline of that? How long did all that take?
About 3 years. About 3 years. We put in the offer to Nick in February, maybe it was January of 2019. January 2019. I read the script in spring of 16. So right. 2.5-ish years. I raised the funding for it early 2018. We had money to start putting a real package together. And then I brought Kevin on, I think, in the summertime of 18. But I had been trying to convince my finance guy for 18 months. He didn't like horror films. There was a little bit of an element of possession with the movie. He doesn't like any of that. I just had a feeling about the movie. And you know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling where you're like, this is going to do something. This is going to be special, at least on an indie level. And I just knew it. I was like, we have to make this movie. And it was, we officially attached him. He wanted to do it in February of 2019. I got a call. I'll never forget. It was a Tuesday morning. Nick was supposed to read it that weekend. I'd heard that a million times from an agent or manager. Yeah, they're going to read it over the weekend. 2 months later, you get a phone call. It's a pass. Sorry, it's a pass. Yeah. So I figured we'd be waiting forever. And I'd already programmed his phone number in my phone. So I saw Mike Nylon's office number pop up. I'll never forget. I was standing in the office and my wife was sitting on the couch and I could see her. And I pick up, and I'd gotten so many passes. I was expecting another pass. Right. Hey, Jeremy, it's Mike. I said, hey, man, Nick read the script over the weekend. I said, okay. He goes, he wants to do it. I said, I'm sorry. And my wife, Jessica's looking at me, and I just go, And she's like, I was like, he wants to do it. Okay, great. He goes, yeah, we're gonna have to talk about, the terms and stuff. There's a lot to talk about, but yeah, he wants to do it. And so we're a go. We'd like to shoot this summer. I said, awesome. Let me get on the phone with everybody. What was that? It looks like you got a question.
No, I don't have a question. I'm just flabbergasted. Like, that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? And so I ended up hanging up, and Jessica was like, oh my God, did I hear that right? And I was like, yes, you did. I can't even believe what I just heard. I'm going to call Kevin, and I'm going to call Gio. So I think I called Gio first, and I said, hey man, are you sitting down? And he's like, what is it? And I said, Nick wants to do the movie, buddy. He's like, hold on. I got to put it on speakerphone. And I think they were engaged at the time, is now his wife. And she said, what's going on? And he said, say it again. Amalia's here. And I said, Nick wants to do your movie, buddy. I said, now the work begins. And, I had my wife standing there, and it was just a heck of a moment. I grew up Nick Cage fan, and now to have him wanting to do a movie that I was putting together, it was great. I called Kevin, and Kevin was like, no way, Nick Cage, we got Nick Cage. And then you know how it goes at that point, the work begins. Yeah. And I call that the last good day until we were officially greenlit. I mean, there are so many stories with how the movie progressed from that point. It was incredible. I had to keep going back to that day for those good thoughts and inspiration of Nick Cage wants to do the movie, because I never realized Nick was at that time still a huge movie star, but he'd done a few movies that weren't as good as some of the other movies that he had done previously. And he was in kind of an interesting place creatively. So I thought we were kind of going to be able to fly under the radar in a sense. And there were people that came out of the woodwork. My advice, if anybody wants advice who's listening I wish somebody would have told me, really at any level, anytime you're producing a movie, especially if you have someone like Nick Cage, people are going to come out of the woodwork. Right. There are going to be people you never figured are going to lie to you to try to get something. Right. And they're going to there were great lengths that people went to, and I was shocked, and I was a newer producer, and people were trying to take advantage of me left and right. I couldn't believe it. So I had to really make sure the team was, only as big as it needed to be. And trusting people at that point. I'm such an optimistic person, and I was so happy to just be making a Nicolas Cage movie. I could not believe the amount of deception that was happening, and not to go from here to here, in this conversation we're having, but it got weird.
I think I think that's valuable. I think it's valuable to talk about the stuff that did get weird, because, a lot of people think independent film is like, oh, you're going to get a camera and shoot, a haunted house movie in the woods with your friends or something. But when you get a big target on your back, if you have a Nicolas Cage or something else on it, then you get a lot of interesting people approaching you. One example I'd like to share is it was right before the recession. I was negotiating a deal for
it's like 07.
This was 07, beginning of 08. And I was negotiating a deal basically to get $2 million for a buddy of mine's first feature film.
Nice.
And that was back when the DVD market was still blowing up, and you could make a straight to DVD movie for $4 million. Now that market has really crashed. But back then, basically I was negotiating with this guy who was a real estate developer who later wound up getting indicted by the FBI. So luckily I wasn't tied up in that. But what was interesting was I was starting to approach casting directors about helping to package the project. And there was this one guy, I won't say his name, he knows who he is. But I was in his office. He had two beautiful actresses just sitting on the couch in his office apparently doing nothing, just doing stuff on their smartphones.
Okay.
And he turns to me and he says, I like to dip my beak, but I don't dip it in the company ink. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? And I'm just, okay. And I kind of like just get out of the room.
What do you say to that, right?
Exactly. Like it makes no, you know, like.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, right? And then just, you got out of there, huh?
Exactly. But that being said, like those like weird stories in the 9 months to a year after you get Nick Cage attached and before you get start shooting, like are there any stories you feel comfortable sharing? Like,
sure. We had a script that I really liked, that Nicolas Cage really liked and his manager really liked, that our sales company wouldn't sell or fund. Yeah. Wow. We were stuck. I couldn't believe it. I said, but Nick wants to do it. And they said, no. To Gio's credit, he came up with an incredibly great idea. But he was a newer writer. I think he'd written one other thing, like a movie for Shark Week for Discovery Channel.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I saw it, and you know, we kind of laughed about it. He goes, hey man, you know, it's all good. And so he was a newer writer. And I agreed. I said, yes, there's definitely like some issues with the script. We can hammer that out. But it was done. The movie was actually done. And I was like, I can't let this happen. We have to figure this out.
Right.
So we went through a process of getting the script to the point where we were getting the the sales company and finance company to sign off on it. And it was very difficult. We actually ended up, like I said, to Gio's credit, being a newer writer, he just wasn't quite ready. We actually gave him a stab at it. So he went back and did a rewrite, and he did it very quickly, which was incredible. We were actually very, very pleased, but it still wasn't getting the response we were hoping for, and from the sales company and who was also funding it. So we had to bring in a writer to kind of clean it up a little bit. And that script was very good. And we ended up hearing from Mike Nylon that they did not feel it was very good. And they wanted to go back to the original script, or more or less that. So we ended up blending the two together. And I wish I could mention names, but I just can't. Right. But it, some of the names I'll be able to mention as we move forward here. But we ended up finally getting it to that point. But I just couldn't believe it. And that was like a 3-month process. And it was every day trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? And the sales company started losing interest in the project. And so I had to keep them interested. And then the financing section was like, nah, I don't know. This is getting kind of weird. Who cares? And I'm like, no. So I'm trying to keep them interested, always just, relaying how great this film can be. And even Kevin was getting really nervous. The director's like, oh man, is this thing gonna happen? What's going on? And he was still very excited all the time. He wanted to direct the crap out of this movie. But that was a unique problem to have. And I had loved the original script and then ended up really, really loving the rewrite as well. So I was torn, but it wasn't really up to me. So it was like, we have to find a way to marriage these two together so that everybody's happy, so we can, because we can't sell the movie and we can't finance it, then we have a script and we have a movie star interested in something we can't fund. And we spoke to some other people and we were getting other opinions, and we did everything to try to like make this script work. And it just, I never believed that could happen, but it did. And nobody's really talked about that. So that's something of interest to even writers out there too, that being flexible is very important for a writer. And it's hard. And I get it. I've done some writing myself. Right. And I know how the thought goes into every word and every scenario, and everything is very well thought out. But a lot of the writers out there that work a lot that I've spoken with are very flexible. I'm sure you've experienced this too, very flexible within their vision. Mm-hmm. Hey, sure, let's figure out how to make this work. So we had a team that really was doing that, and everybody just wanted to see the movie get made. So but yeah, it was a heck of a process. You know, that was we had another creature company that wanted to do it, and things got interesting there, and it was just one thing after another. But I wanted to make the movie so bad. You just keep going, you know? Yeah. That's all you can do. It's just keep going.
What were some of the tactics and strategies you used to keep the various parties still interested while you were going through this process?
Just focused on what it could be. Focused on the end product, what it could actually, what the DNA was, and that nobody had made a movie like this. And I said, you know, the DNA, the actual core chromosomes that are sitting here are very special. We are in the entertainment industry, and I believe this can be so fun and entertaining for people because of these elements. We're talking about a character who never speaks a word. Nicolas Cage has never played a role like that. This will be the only role, and people will talk about it. I knew that. I was like, we are going to have, in the original script, I will say, there was one line. The janitor, Nick, did have one line. Right. And we decided as a team, I guess really quick fast forward, Kevin came up to me and he said, so we were probably like 2 weeks into filming at this point. He goes, so Nick doesn't want to say the line. I said, okay. Well, that's fine. I said, where is he? Let me go talk to him real quick. And so I found Nick and I said, hey, you want to go grab some coffee? He's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go grab some coffee. Good. And so we went. And by the way, Nick, love the guy. He was absolutely incredible. So we had a little talk. And I said, hey, I understand that you don't feel like we need the line. And he goes, no, we don't. I said, okay, fair enough. Is there any reason why? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, you know, what is it? He goes, it doesn't need to be said. It doesn't need to be said. And I said, it doesn't need to be said. Okay, so you don't need to say the line because it doesn't need to be said. He goes, that's correct. And I said, we'll cut it. Sounds good. No need. I was like, Kevin, no need. So that was it. But yeah, back to the whole, you know, yeah, it was this big deal. And he only had one line at the time. And we'd considered cutting it even back in the early stages. So I was like just pitching them on that, going, we got this role. Nick Cage is known for his rants and his amazing dialogue, you know, delivery. What are people going to think when he doesn't speak a word, or when rumor is out that he doesn't speak a word? And I'm like, who has not been to a Chuck E. Cheese, a Showbiz Pizza, and been wondering, man, those things are a little creepy. Could they be possessed by any chance at all? And what would happen if they were? I mean, they're creepy when they like, you know, just sit there when they're done with their song, just staring, like not moving. You're like, man, there's something weird going on. And maybe I just had an overactive imagination as a kid, but that's something I thought about is, man, what if they're possessed and this guy gets to go in and he gets to go save this town? It's such a simple story that works so well. So I just kept everybody excited about that, you know, and just kind of like what it could be. And the fact that we really set out to make kind of an 80s throwback movie. And I was always, I really was an 80s kid. I was born in 79. And I loved it. And even when Jen Schreck designed the Willy's Wonderland t-shirt, I actually, David, my producing partners, David and Grant, they were out doing something. I didn't know where they were. I couldn't get a hold of them. And she comes and brings me the shirt. We'd been working on it earlier that day. And I was like, this is perfect. Done. Print these. Yes. Because it was just the perfect 80s t-shirt style. And I was like, this is going to be so hilarious on Nick. And Kevin and I had talked about it, and Gio and I had talked about how funny that was going to be to make a shirt that was just a little too tight for him, you know, and it ended up fitting actually quite good on him. And we're like, dang it, he still looks good, man. We wanted him to look a little goofier in it, and he still looks cool. It was like, dang it. But yeah, so many challenges, man.
It's suspenseful and it's weird and twisted, and it walks this really fine line really well. And because it's really easy for something like that, with a concept like that, to just kind of go off into silly town, right? And it does it really well. And I can see why Nicolas Cage wanted to do this. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We had many conversations. Your producing like antenna is up and working well, because we had a lot of those conversations. Boy, if we don't do this right, this is going to be super stupid.
Yeah.
It was just like, and no offense to anyone or anything involving the project, but we all knew that if it wasn't executed, if people didn't get what we were trying to do, which was we didn't take ourselves too seriously, we wanted to have some fun and entertain people. That was really, there's nothing deeper there, but there is a deep message that we all really wanted to make sure people understood at the end of the movie. And that was, the janitor sticks to his promise and he ends up winning and getting what he wants in the end, because he sticks to what he said he would do. I'll clean the place. It just so happens that there are these possessed animatronics trying to kill him. So it's more of a nuisance. And there was a moment in the bathroom when he fights Gus the gorilla. And he's about to spray, because on the the mirror has been written like happy birthday or whatever. It's your birthday in blood, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
And Nick had just cleaned the mirror, and he's like, oh, geez. And so he's spraying it, he's wiping it, and we hear Gus in the stall, saying, want to play hide and seek. And when Nick did that take, I told him, I said, that was straight brilliant, man. Because he throws the rag into the sink as if, what now? I'm just trying to do my job. I'm trying to clean. What now? I got to kill something else now? And it's just, and then he proceeds to go down the line, kicking the stall doors open while Gus is, I don't know if you saw that scene, but Gus
not that one. No.
Okay. It's great. It's so much fun. And we had such a fun time filming it, but Nick, being who he is as an actor, understanding those nuances that were in the script and just being Nick Cage and killing it, was like, that's why we got Nick. Cause he just, but yeah, that really was the lesson. Is everyone else was trying to screw him pretty much. I mean, the kids, obviously live, she ends up living, and she also sticks to kind of her promise. The kids want to burn the building down with him in there or without. And she's like, you guys, we can't do that. And she ends up surviving. So kind of the lesson was, do the right thing and you'll probably survive. Stick to your word and you'll probably survive. So that was kind of that. So in a silly movie, that was the deep message. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, that's really all it was just something we wanted people to enjoy, and just, it is silly and it is fun. Okay, I will tell this quick story here. This is a good one.
Okay.
So, we're, like I said, probably 2 weeks into shooting. And Nick actually came up to me and he said that he wasn't super comfortable with this. It's a martial arts move. So when your hands are actually tied behind your back, at one point his hands are tied behind his back, with a zip tie. And our stunt coordinator, Charlie Parrish, absolutely incredible stunt coordinator. If you are a producer and you are shooting anywhere and you need a stunt coordinator to kick butt, Charlie Parrish is your guy. He was incredible. So it's a move where you basically sit on top of somebody, you knock them down, and you're on top of them, and you have to squeeze. You basically break their neck with your knees. You're down on them, and you're here, and you squeeze, and you can snap someone's neck. And Charlie taught Nick the move. Charlie has a military background and everything. So, but that also, you're putting your crotch pretty close to someone's face with this move. You're right there. And Nick, I don't know if it was because Jessica was my wife or if it was just in general, but he was uncomfortable with it. And he came up to me and he said, if there's another way we can do this, I would prefer that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. I said, yeah, I'm sure we can figure something out. And I told Jessica, and she said, oh, well, I'm fine with it. She's like, I'm wearing a mask. It doesn't feel strange to me. But Nick was so respectful,
Mm-hmm.
and we honored that. And we said, okay, cool. So we got this dummy out,
Mm-hmm.
and they started dressing it. And you can only imagine they're dressing it in this Siren Sarah. She's basically, like I said before, like a fairy, a demonic fairy.
Mm-hmm.
She's, got this skirt and stuff and tights, and they're dressing it, and they're setting up the shot. And I'm on one set of monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Nick is on a set of monitors to my right,
Mm-hmm.
and we both looking like this, going. We look at each other simultaneously, and we're seeing this mess happening in front of us on the monitors. Just like it looks so stupid. And we both at the same time said, this isn't going to work. And I said, come walk with me. So we go and we walk in, and I said, listen, I've talked to Jessica. She's totally cool with it. If you're cool with doing this, she's cool. I don't think we have a choice. He goes, no, I don't think we have a choice. No. And sorry, I have to do it occasionally. It's so great.
It's
I
good.
love the way he talks. So he was like, let's do this. And he even had like knee pads on, for the shot. And Nick didn't even want to, he had to adjust them at one point. He didn't even want to walk away from the set and waste anybody's time to go adjust them, but his knees were killing him. And we're like, Nick, no, please go fix your knee pads. He's just that way. Like, he doesn't want anybody to be waiting for him. But anyways, we start shooting it, and it was hilarious and a little creepy and kind of sexual, but not sexual. Anyways, it made the movie. Obviously it had to, because this is the moment where we think he kills Siren Sarah, but she does end up surviving. So any spoilers out there. But that was a really funny story. And then he came up to me afterwards, and he goes, no, that was best. That was best that we did it that way. And then at one point he punches her. This is like a week later. He actually punches her in a scene. And I walked up to him after the cut, and I said, did you just hit my wife? And he kind of looked at me, and I was like, I'm just messing with you, man. I put on my actor hat for a second and kind of like really sold it. Did you hit my wife? I was really like, and then he's like, oh man. I said, it looked great, dude. Great job. I'm just messing with you. So we had that kind of thing going, and Nick had that with a lot of people. And he was just fascinating to watch work. And, just the kids were great. And everybody was awesome. It was pretty special. Yeah, we had a great team. I think you're asking about future projects.
Yeah, what's JD Entertainment got planned next?
We have a couple really cool things. So I have a Western that is an amazing story. It's really, man, how do I not give too much away? It's really this guy who is told, he's a Texas Ranger, and he's told you're dying from cancer. And he decides, okay, I'm going to go get revenge for my partner, but I've got to make things right with my son. And he's kind of this tough guy, but he ends up making good with his son, which is definitely the more difficult of the two, really. And he goes off, and one by one, he goes after, there's 5 guys that he's got to go get. And each one is progressively more formidable. And he goes and gets them. And the process of what he has to go through to actually find them and then kill them for his partner, Miller, is fascinating. What he's got to figure out, how he manages to find them. But he takes the one thing off of his lapel, his Texas Ranger badge, and he puts it in the drawer. And it's personal. So it's gunfights. It's great. I've got another script that I'm doing right now. It's basically, the movie Predator?
Yeah.
It's Predator in the Rocky Mountains in the dead of winter.
Ooh.
And it's awesome. Awesome. Same writer that wrote On the Count of Three, which is the Western I'm working on right now. Same writer. He's fantastic. And this script called Survival is awesome. There's really not a dull moment. It's that constant pressure. And Predator was one of my favorite movies growing up. And when I read the script, I was like, ooh. Now, mind you, he didn't steal anything from the movie Predator, but that's the idea. Is
of
there?
course, yeah.
This thing is hunting them,
and that's really like a
yeah.
phenomenal setting, because like I've seen a couple documentaries about elite trained like snow soldiers and mountain soldiers and ski soldiers, and they're really like the amount of stuff they have to go through is above and beyond like what traditional Navy SEALs even need to go through, because it's such a inhospitable environment.
Like you were just saying, like you have so many factors, challenges that you have to overcome.
Yeah,
exactly. The Rocky Mountains in winter, that's a big enough problem in and of itself in a survival situation. And now they have this alien that's hunting them, and this alien has a good reason for it. So it's not just hunting for sport, it's actually a revenge situation. And it's fun. It's super fun. I wish I could say more about that one, but that's one I'm currently working on. I've got a couple others that I have that I'm not sure I'm going to come on and actually produce or not, but those are two that I'm all in on, and we're getting close to hopefully in pre-production on both very soon. So
that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I just love great stories, and I love having a film like a janitor character, you know, who's this interesting person who's going through and just the challenges of your lead character in the world. I love things that are set in worlds like, you know, a Chuck E. Cheese environment or the Rocky Mountains, or, you know, stuff like that. Like kind of not really extreme, but just interesting settings, I think, are, you know, right there, you're already ahead of the game. And
yeah, that's awesome, man. Congratulations on all your success. That's
thanks, man. Yeah, it's you know, hey, I'm having fun. It's indie filmmaking, and you know, it's kind of interesting going back again and, you know, just kind of repeating the process, you know, finding a script. And that's what I prefer to do. I like to just find a script, and I like to develop it. And I'm probably more of a creative producer with some finance connections, but I really prefer to be creative on it and working with the director and working with the writer on it, you know, and that's what it's all about, right? It's just what's interesting, what's fun. Exactly. And those are fun.
And that is Season 2, Episode 9 of the Producers Lounge podcast. Thank you to my guest, Jeremy Daniel Davis, for joining us. You can find out more about him by checking out the show notes and visiting our website at greaterandgrander.com. Our intro and outro music today was Sweet Georgia Brown by Latché Swing. Our episode still image credit goes to Screen Media from Willy's Wonderland, still photographer Nick Romanelli, and cinematographer David Newbert. If you have any questions or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the episode comments. You can stay up to date by following us on social media at the handle GreaterGrander, all one word. Make sure to subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found, and also, if you like what we do, share this podcast with a friend who you think will enjoy it. Join us next week for more cocktails and questions, and until then, keep producing dreams.